Hey, so I just got my new toys, and it's a product that is not well reviewed. And I don't mean it's received poor reviews. I mean, there aren't many reviews available for it in English on YouTube. Every review I was able to find, I'm trying to block the sunlight. Every review I was able to find was in Spanish. And so while I might not have a lot to tell at this point, because I literally just got my new one in, I thought I would share kind of my initial impressions of it. So this is the Spartan Smart Manifold, and I'm gonna kind of adjust the camera so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Oh, you know what? I should flip this around. Bear with me. And then Alright, so this is a view of the product. Pretty much it is a 4-port manifold for heating and air conditioning equipment. And again, let me kind of get this so you can see it. I apologize, I am not a cameraman. Alright, so what I noticed right off the bat, 1/4 inch. I mean, I don't get that. Obviously, you know, the vacuum port should be 3/8 or 5/16, and it's 1/4 inch. Now it doesn't really matter for me. Obviously, they're expecting you to put an adapter on that, so you can go from 1/4 inch to 3/8, but it's not typical. Typically, you'll have a 3/8 and a 3/8 port here, so you can put your larger vacuum hose on. Now, it's not really an issue for me because I don't intend to pull vacuum through this directly. And I talked about that in a previous video, but let me kind of go through some of what I think is cool in this. So we got refrigerant list. It's comprehensive, you know, every refrigerant you could imagine. Also, you can go online and update the software. So when we get our new CO2 refrigerants and all these new organic, you know, earth-friendly refrigerants that we're getting in the next year or two, we can update this refrigerant list and then transfer that relatively easily. Oh, I wanted to get 422 on here because I'm using that a lot. So I think that that's cool because obviously on my old 422D, right? Whatever. All right. So anyway, sometimes the touchscreen isn't really super sensitive, so that's an issue. The Bluetooth works great. Pretty much I downloaded the app, pushed the button, my phone found it really quickly. There's no real additional features on the cell phone app. I see everything that I see on here. If I make a change on here, it changes on the app very quickly. I've At first I was like, I don't really need that feature because I'm gonna be, you know, I'm old school. I'm gonna be plugged in. But the fact of the matter is, doing commercial refrigeration, periodically I am going to be adjusting TXVs when I'm starting up a new system. So having this plugged in and displaying my superheat right at the unit, I can bring my phone down to the TXV. I can make a 1/4 turn adjustment. I can wait my 15-20 minutes right where I am. I can watch the superheat adjust on my cell phone. I don't have to go back and forth to the roof. I might change the setting on a TXV 5 or 6 times a year at most. It's pretty much if I'm starting up a new uh, low temperature walk-in or I'm changing out a TXV. That's pretty much the only time I'm going to be adjusting a TXV. But it's nice that I don't have to go back and forth to the roof because that is definitely a pain in the neck. Obviously, you can load new firmware, but you got to be plugged into a laptop for that and on Wi-Fi. Job utility timer. Pretty much, I can plug this thing into your system. Let's say you're having an intermittent issue. I don't really know what's going on. I'm suspecting that intermittently your head pressure is spiking up due to a restriction, but it's just not happening when I'm there. I could technically plug this system in, do data logging for 24 hours, and see, yeah, at this time your head pressure spiking. There's no other reason for it. Whatever. It's a intermittent restriction in your TXV and whatever. I'm not necessarily saying I'm going to use that feature because data logging is either something that you have on a building automation system or your residential application and you don't really have that many components where it's going to be necessary. But it's still nice that the feature's there because you never know. You might have to check a building automation system. It might be throwing up bad data and you want to leave your stuff on the system to kind of confirm that that's what's going on. Now, this is everything to me because my old Master Cool is what killed it. I deal with a lot with the 134A, so I could see refrigerants that are like giving me suction pressures of 10 psi. That's normal. And if my pressure sensor is off by 15 psi, well, guess what? I'm telling you, your system's empty, and your system's not empty, and that's a big problem. It was, it's like entering the cheat code for Tetris, trying to recalibrate the sensors on the old one. This one, I set the temperature. I plug in my probe. I confirm it with an expensive thermometer, and I calibrate the resistance on the sensor. And again, you can go through your pressure sensors are the same thing. It does both sides. It does pressure. It zeroes out to 0 psi, and then it asks you to pressurize the manifold to 300, and you calibrate it to 300. So it gives you those 2 points, which will definitely give you a more accurate pressure reading, or between 1 and 300, and probably north of there as well. Job utility timer, firmware, Bluetooth. I'm going to turn the Bluetooth off because I'm just irradiating myself unnecessarily and burning up the battery. Leak test. So this is nice. And this is something that if there was ever an issue with, let's say, I work for a small company. There's only 4 guys. I like to think that my boss trusts when I say I did something, I did it. But technically with this, what's nice is because you can see this on your app and you can actually download the data onto your app. You could do a pressure test and a vacuum pressure test or a traditional pressure test, and you can download the data that you had it on pressure for 45 minutes and it held that pressure, and you could email it to your boss or you could email it to the customer to confirm that you did your pressure test the way that you're supposed to do. Same thing with vacuum. It gives you the ability to plot the starting vacuum, the current vacuum, the ending vacuum, and the time that it held the vacuum. So that is a good way to confirm that you don't have any leaks in your system, and a real nice feature on the thing that is just, it's keeping track of time because, I've done this for years and I've just been looking at my watch basically like, it's been about an hour, it's still holding about 300 psi. This is just a highly precise instrument for doing the same thing basically, but it is and then the vacuum again, right now my rig for the vacuum is, pulling an absolute vacuum of about 15 microns. So I will calibrate this thing because I have my independent vacuum gauge. So this is basically where my setup is going to be. I'm going to walk into your business and I'm going to have a cheap little gauge with a cheap little hose on it, and I'm going to confirm that your system has refrigerant in it with that. When it comes to pulling a vacuum on a system, I'm not going to use this manifold. Okay, what I'm going to use is I'm going to use my vacuum port or my charging port, maybe my vacuum port, because I'll actually have a vacuum gauge on this, and I'll either purge to here or I'll vacuum to here. If I was going on to that, I would just basically hook this to my 1/4 inch on my vacuum pump, or this. It doesn't matter. I'll charge the vacuum line if they're giving me 1/4 inch. It's really just the diameter of the hose and the volume of the refrigerant. But anyway, I would pull a vacuum on that hose, and I would purge that hose because of the permeability of the hoses. But my plan, 2 5/16 hoses directly from the pump to the system, okay? And then I'm gonna have this tied into my 1/4 inch line on the pump, so I'll pull down directly from the pump, bypassing the manifold, and then when it goes to charge the system, I will basically, I'm not gonna be pulling microns from this. I'm going to be testing my vacuum with this. So the vacuum and the pressure testing is not going to be a feature that I actually use on this. It's really nice. It's I just prefer the thermocouple style one. These sensors will last forever, and I just think it's more accurate, this style, over the thermistor. But it's internal, so I have basically backups on backups for a vacuum test. I could do my vacuum test through here. I just have a lot of potential leak points. When I do this, I have a more dependable vacuum tester, and I only have one potential leak point, and that's just a better way to do it. Anyway, the size of it is substantial. To compare it with the Testo's probably like that, give or take. Maybe a little bit wider, probably right about there. Same thickness, so it's a little bit more thick. And again, there's only one button on it. Besides that, it's all touchscreen. I am concerned about the touchscreen as far as when it gets really cold out. They say that because of the type of touchscreen that they used, it will work in really cold temperatures. It will work with gloves on. It's the deflection type, so it's like, there's little lasers that pool in the low spots when you deflect the plexiglass, and then little UV cameras that see the light pooling around the deflection, and that's how it indicates what button you're pushing, which is a different style of touchscreen that works. It's just a little bit more durable, but it's not necessarily impervious to cracking. So I do consider that a potential weak point. Other than that, I mean, I love the thing. I love that it's rechargeable. I love the fact that the data can be downloaded to the phone or stored on here or emailed to customers or bosses. And I honestly, I like the fact that it doesn't give me a bunch of BS I didn't ask for. It's kind of cut and dry. You got timers, you got vacuum. I just gotta go through it to warm up. You got vacuum, you got your pressures, you got a refrigerant list, you got the ability to make a refrigerant short list. Huge time saver. If you're searching for an obscure refrigerant and you're pushing up, like I had to on my old one, and then you press up one too many times and you miss the refrigerant And you got to scroll through the list all over again. That's so annoying. This thing, I don't even have to do that. I just make a short list. And I can pick off my short list, and if I have to add from a long list, I can do that. It's a time saver. I'm a fan. The only thing that matters now is accuracy and dependability. Um, that's I won't know for hopefully 2 years. But the recalibration, the ease of recalibration, gives me hope for long-term accuracy. Long-term durability is another question, but when it comes to circuit boards, sometimes bigger is okay because that can sometimes take a beating, sometimes not. I actually don't know a lot about circuit boards, but I'm a fan. I think that this product is worth the money. It is it's nice. So I'm looking forward to using it, and I'll let you guys know if I have any hiccups, and that's about it. I so far I recommend it for the price. It's not a lot of BS. Wi-Fi or the Bluetooth works good. I do think the Bluetooth is actually a functional asset to this thing for adjusting TXVs. That's about the only time I would use it. Besides that, this thing's plugged in. I'm looking at it. I'm unplugging it. I'm taking it with me. Obviously I'm not leaving my expensive equipment tied to the condenser when I'm not there. But that one instance when I got to adjust that TXV and I don't want to climb up to the roof to watch my superheat and see where it levels out, I'm gonna love this thing. I'm gonna love it to death. And that's it. Nice sight glass. It's weird that they gave a 1/4-inch port here. They might have had a complaint, I guess, at some point. Anyway, that's it. Spartan Smart Manifold. Not a lot of BS. It looks rugged. It looks professional. It's not a lot of bright colors on it that looks like a toy. It looks like a legit HVAC diagnostic computer that can compete with pretty much anything out there. I mean, that's how it looks. And I have a few coworkers with a few high-end tools, so it's definitely gonna get compared and contrast against the pressure sensors on the Testo. I can promise you that. Anyway, I'll let you know with any accuracy issues or any dependability issues over the next couple weeks. Thanks, guys. Bye.